Welcome to Basic Training, recruits. This is your personal video series to get you ready to fight those Persian rats. In this first part, we'll go over the history of the war, because in order to fight with Greek pride, you must understand why we are in this conflict. First, a history on the enemy. The Persians may be heathens, but they aren't fools. The Persian Empire, or formerly known as the Achaemenid Empire, was formed in 550 BCE by Cyrus the Great. It is the largest empire in history, stretching from Anatolia to India, and has accomplished many wonderful feats itself. The Persians are famous for their royal road, a road that stretches the length of their empire, allowing for easy access for traders and movement of people and resources. The government governs through satrapies, individual states that are governed by a satrap. Their official religion is Zoroastrianism, though they are tolerant of other religions and customs as well. The Persian economy is built on trade, as they are the middlemen of the world due to its position along the Silk Road. In fact, most of the things we get from China, like silk, has been through the Persian Empire. This also allows them to be extremely advanced technologically. The Persians have the most up-to-date military equipment, as well as very impressive engineers. This is evident with their building of a massive bridge built out of their own ships when they were marching their army to Thermopylae. They are mostly tolerant, but their rulers, such as Darius, rule with an iron fist. This leads us into why we are fighting. The Persians militarily expanded far into Anatolia, and took over some Greek city-states there, namely the Greek city-state of Sardis. Since us Greeks don't bow down to anyone besides ourselves, we revolted in what is called the Ionian Revolt, which the Athenians and the Eretrians, being the good Greeks they are, supported with a small detachment of troops. The Ionian revolt was not very successful, and Darius eventually put it down, but he was angry and sent messengers to Athens saying the Greeks must accept Persian rule or be attacked. The Athenians did the right thing and executed the messengers. Of course, this angered Darius. He even got so angry that he had a servant tell him, "Remember the Greeks," at every meal to keep his anger hot. Another explanation for the war is the hegemon theory. The theory that when there are multiple world powers, war between the world powers will break out. This leads us into Darius' first attack on the mainland, the Battle of Marathon. The Battle of Marathon took place in September of 490 BCE. It was an attempt by Darius to attack the mainland of Greece and destroy Athens. His first invasion force he sent was destroyed in a storm, but after he regrouped, he sent an army of 25,000 men to land at the plain of Marathon to attack the city of Athens 26.2 miles away. The Athenians asked for help from Sparta, but since the Spartans were in the middle of a religious festival, they declined, and the Athenians were forced to face the Persians with only 10,000 of their own men and 1,000 from Plataea. The Athenians had a very good general, Miltiades, who was able to effectively take away many of the Persian advantages. The Persian army had many archers, which were ineffective against the heavily armored Greek infantry, which formed a wall of bronze. We used superior military tactics to counteract the size of our army, and attacked the Persians when their cavalry was attempting raids on Athens. As you see here, Miltiades commanded his army to form a V-shape to surround the Persian infantry at the beaches, allowing them to bottle up the enemy forces. They executed flawlessly and won the battle, losing only 192 men to the Persians' 6,400. They then marched quickly back to Athens to prevent the surprise attack from the cavalry. After the battle, a messenger named Theodippides ran all the way to Athens to tell the city of the victory, running the first ever marathon. Darius' forces went home and regrouped, but never got enough strength to attack again until 10 years later under Xerxes. After their defeat at Marathon, the Persians regrouped 10 years later under Darius' heir, Xerxes, and attempted to attack again, this time with a much bigger force that traveled by land and sea, but the size of the force made them slow, so we had time to prepare a defense. We formed a league committed to the defense of Greece, the first time Greece had ever been united, and gave control of the army to the Spartans and control of the navy to the Athenians. King Leonidas of Sparta commanded the army. And Themistocles of Athens had control of the navy. The the Persians vastly outnumbered us, so we decided to meet them in areas that could restrict their forces. King Leonidas had 7,000 troops at the Strait of Thermopylae, and Themistocles stationed his navy at the Strait of Artemisia. While traveling to the battle, the Persians suffered losses from the weather, but created the Dardanelles, which was a bunch of ships tied together so that their army could cross a small strait. The Persians finally met us and were completely outmaneuvered. One of the Persians' greatest advantages was their cavalry, which was rendered almost useless in the narrow strait. Soon the Persian army became disorganized, and as you can see here, they could not penetrate the Spartan defenses, and Themistocles was able to hold off and heavily cripple the Persian navy. The battle took 3 days, and in the first 2, the Persians suffered heavy losses at the hands of the Greeks' strong, disciplined infantry, but a Greek traitor showed the Persians a way around the strait, so the next day they took a force and surrounded the rest of the Greek forces. All of the Greek forces had fled the area, except for the Spartans and the Thespians. They stayed there to delay the enemy advance long enough for the others to escape, and were all eventually killed, including Leonidas. It did slow down the Persian advance long enough for the Athenians to leave their city and have the majority of their army survive, but allowed for the sacking of Athens. The battle was technically a defeat for us, but many more Persians died than Greeks, and it allowed the Athenians to survive and regroup and eventually beat the Persians in the Battle of Salamis. After the Persians captured Athens, the Athenian navy escaped to the island of Salamis, where they put pressure on the Persian army by blockading their port and stopping supplies from Persia reaching them. In 480 BCE, Themistocles lured the Persian army into the narrow strait near the island of Salamis, where the size of the Persian forces became a hindrance. With his superior naval skills, he outmaneuvered the Persian fleet and won a decisive and key victory. The Persian navy retreated to Asia, leaving the army alone in the mainland, and allowed for us to clear them out of Greece for good in the Battle of Plataea, when an army of largely Spartan helots or spearmen defeated the crippled Persian army. The Persian navy would be destroyed in the Battle of Mycenae, marking the last of all Persian incursions into Greece by the time of 479 BCE.
Here are the effects. The Delian League. We formed the Delian League in 477 as an alliance between us fellow city-states and as an agreement to have the same friends and enemies. The League was providing temporary peace between our city-states, but Athens has been exercising their hegemony over the rest of the League by moving the treasury there and placing colonists in Skyros, which has angered much of the rest of the members as well as Sparta. The aim of the League was to prevent future invasion, divvy the spoils of war, and seek revenge on Persia, which is where you recruits come in. There were many problems with the League though. Naxos was forced to get rid of its walls and even lost their vote in the League. Thasos also had quarrels with the League because it threatened their access to gold in Mount Pangaeon. As a result, they asked for Sparta's help in rebelling, but Sparta declined and later tensions between Athens and Sparta worsened. Sparta is angry because Athens is enjoying their golden age while everyone else is struggling. I guess the dropping of the ingots into the sea didn't mean much. We think that because of Athens' growing wealth and power, Sparta and Athens will go to war, but you recruits hopefully won't be involved in that. I'll go into depth on what the effects of the war were on two of our most powerful city-states, and why they may go to war. The Athenian Golden Age. Once Pericles was elected, Athens was entering its Golden Age, and with that came the vast income and wealth and the growth of their empire. Pericles took money from the Delian League's treasury to fund his projects, like the construction of the Temple of Athena and the Parthenon. He subsidized the theatrical arts and helped increase civilian participation in these events by providing payment for things like jury duty and many other civic services. Nonetheless, he was taking the money from the League's treasury and therefore taking money from other Greeks, which is what angered so many, especially Sparta. Sparta, on the other hand, was trying to deal with the Helot rebellion, as well as losing money. They feel threatened by the expansion of Athens, which, like I said, may result in war. Sparta has requested concessions from Athens, but Pericles refused, and now Sparta has invaded Attica near Athens. The Persian retreat and our attack. Xerxes has pulled his troops out of our territory, and Mycale and Ionia have started fighting the Persians off, thus declaring their independence from the Persians. Now is when we must attack, and I'm going to tell you how we are going to do it. We will start by taking Sestos back. After that, we will go to Cyprus. Our objective there is to get as much Persian money as we can, not to take the island. Lastly, we will sail to Byzantium and conduct a siege around the city to control it. That is our plan, and that is what you recruits are for.